So going off the high of not forgetting anything in the last video, we can now talk about your aerial buttons being JP, JK, JS, JH, JD, and J2K. So from each one, on normal hit or counter hit, you get something, and we're just gonna go over them. We'll do both counter hit and normal hit together because there's not a lot to say about them. So for JP, you can connect it into 5P. If you connect it into 5P, you should try and look for the 5P, 6P, like this, to be able to throw in an item. Just in case they don't block this for some reason. Anyway, now to JK. JK can lead into a close slash if you land it low enough, but generally where you land it, it will usually go into 5K. So going for JK 5K 2D is probably the safest way to go. Like this. Another option from JK is to go into a J2K. When you hit this, you will be relatively plus in their face. So you can go for a 2P and like check them, or if you think they will press something big, you can actually just close slash them after you do that. I recommend usually going for 2P though, just in case they press 6P and you get a far slash or something of the sorts. For JS, you will use this move to whiff punish a lot of things when you're jumping and falling into somebody. If you see them pressing a far slash at a time or a 6P that they whiff, or maybe even when you're jumping Axel Super and you want to punish them. The way this usually looks like is you will do a falling JS into a JH. After that, if you get far slash, you will go into a 2H, which will look like this, for nice damage into item. If you do get close enough to get your close slash, you can go for 2D for a hard knockdown, which is very recommended. If you do think your close slash can kill him, you can go into 5HH, or if you're close enough to the wall, going for the 5HH can lead to a wall combo with mix, or with 5K mix. Depending on the wall health, you want to choose your option. Of course, if you're too far, mix will drop, which is always dangerous. You can also just go for 2D if you're unsure if you get close slash or not, and you want the hard knockdown. 2D and far slash are about 12 frames, so whenever you can get far slash, you can get 2D as well. Also, if they are blocking it, 2D is safe on block, so if you're just flow charting it, 2D is pretty safe. For JH, often it's very hard to hit a falling JH, but when you're throwing out a JH into another one, it will usually time it around most characters' height, as you can see. If you are doing this, for whatever reason. So going for close slash into 2D is usually very good, again for the hard knockdown reasons. If you do choose to go for close slash 5HH, it's also fine, especially if you're near the wall and you want to break it. As far as JD goes, JD will usually go into close slash 2D. I think you can see the pattern here. If you want to go for more damage, close slash 5HH. Now, off to counter hits. On counter hit, you have JS being easier to confirm into a combo. And also easier to go into the hard knockdown. You can again do the JH as well, if you feel like it. But now you don't have to make it as tight. Same is true for JH. You'll have time to dash up a bit to make everything more consistent. So you can keep that in mind, that you still have a bit of time after you hit them. Same is true for JD. All the variations become more consistent, and you get to dash up a bit. If you do feel like baiting burst, this is when you can do it. by doing a dash up and just blocking. Now everybody's favorite move, J2K. Well, when you hit J2K, you can get a on counter hit and mix, which will lead to a mix loop. This is a very important counter poke that Faust has. Despite it being sometimes punishable or dangerous from high, getting the counter hit and confirming it into mix is very important. There is an OS to get mix every time that you get a counter hit and get love every time you get a normal hit, but it's not necessarily good to do it. But just in case you want to see it, that's how it looks like. You'll do a fast love input and then immediately do mix. Now you'll see that if I get a normal hit, I can still input the mix the same, but I'll get love. If I move to counter hit, then I'll fuck it up for like a few times now, just to make it look real. Yeah, like this. I don't recommend doing it because a lot of times you don't want to get love a normal hit necessarily. So make sure you use this with caution. When you have meter on all of these hits, there are a few other things you can do suddenly. J2K on normal hits suddenly becomes a combo by doing this thing, which is a fast JH into either close slash 2D, or you guessed it, close slash 5HH, which is better at the wall. Every other hit as well can of course go into an RC if you feel like it, in order to either get the wall or do something else. But from mid-screen, hitting any of these into an RC usually will lead to a wall. You can also choose to hit your 5HH combo like this and then RC it. This will give you more time to confirm and to decide whether you want to or not RC it in comparison to the fast RCs you have to commit to. So these are your choices basically. If you do happen to get a hard RC instead of the fast one, you can always do a combo like this one to get them closer to the wall and start your pressure again from the hard knockdown. For other versions, if you are capable of confirming it, you can actually hit people into a BRC. There are not great uses to this. I don't know how much I recommend doing it in an actual match, but you can do it. So, up to you, friends. Here. This way you can connect things into Scalpel if you feel like it. So that would be an air hit into a BRC by doing air dash into a JH into a 5H Scalpel. Well, you have to do it fast for it to work. So if you ever want to do that, you can keep that in mind. But the damage difference is not that big. And going for something like this into mix is way more consistent. So I recommend going for this, even though there's a 15 damage difference. This was a short one. We don't need to make it longer. Let's enjoy the shortness. I'll see you on the next one where I talk about air conversions with normal hits and with counter hits. Later.